to our Forsyth Area Schools School Board meeting, Thursday, March 14th. Let's open up with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Member Clerk, please take a roll call or roll call of attendance.
Yes. Member Christensen is here. Member Corcoran is absent. Member Hagelin?
Here.
Member Peterson?
Here.
Member Rayfield?
Here.
Member Rebelline?
Here.
Member Tyson?
Here.
All right. Do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Agenda is approved. Scheduled and unscheduled visitors. The listening session was myself and Member Tyson. Tyson, could you give a quick report?
Yes, we had a couple of community members and we talked about our the event in Chisago Lakes that's similar to what we're going to be having on April 2nd. It's on sex crimes, human trafficking. It'll also be sextortion and internet safety. So we'll have a flyer coming out, and they shared some great resources that they had gotten at the event they were at. And then we also had some discussion around books. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Agenda item 5, student achievement, positive happenings. Anybody have positive happenings you'd like to talk about?
Sure.
Oh, sure.
I attended with several others the all-conference honors concert back in February, on February 4th. That was a great event. We have amazing amount of talented students. It's always fun to watch them. I also attended a varsity boys basketball game, which was a great evening. They did win. I attended another one later that week because I just happened to be in the building for something else, and I thought, why not? That one didn't go as well, but it was still fun to watch. And then I attended the Black History Month celebration, and again, a great opportunity to see our students on stage. The students put together a great event. Everything they did was top-notch that the students put on. So, yeah.
Great, thank you.
I'll go. Well, I did attend the Black Student Union Showcase, so I'll pass that around. The vocal performances were amazing. The cultural fashion show was really fun, if you want to pass that around. I also went after that to senior night basketball game, which was really fun celebration. And I always like to, these books just show the great partnership we have with our community and all the support we have for our student athletes, and so that was a great night. I also went to See at the Capitol, which will now be changing their name, and I wanted to send this around because they've put this out as their video. Their focus has been a lot on equalization, so this is just a great reminder of how our Property Poor districts versus Property Wealth districts have a different cost when it comes to education. We know that all students deserve the fair and same funding as all districts get. So I'm going to pass that around too. So we met with quite a big group from Chisago County, as well as Cambridge Isani was there, and some board members from St. Francis. So we met with Karan Barr, and then had kind of a nice office setting with Kroon and talked a lot about the equalization bill that he's working on with Heather Gustafson. So it was a great day, great morning, a lot of the same topics about increasing the allocation for the READ Act, as well as talking about the cost for meals. They're being utilized, they're being, which is a good sign, but that's costing more. And so it's just good conversations. It is a biennium, but there might be money on the table. So if you can come to MSBA Day on the 18th, we have meetings with Senator Housley, Josiah Hill, and the third one is, Representative Patty Anderson. So if you miss C, you can still join on Monday the 18th at MSBA Day at the Capitol. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a few things. Lots of positive happenings going on, as they mentioned. I also went to the concert, which was really, really wonderful. On February 2nd, Scandia Elementary had our Dollar Gala, which was wonderful. It was so exciting. We used to do that sort of in the before times, and then there was a few years we didn't do it after that, and so it's back. And we had 110 people in attendance on a Friday night. It was a great turnout, and also I want to appreciate all the teachers and the staff members that were there, because, you know, it was a Friday, they'd already worked, and so many were already there, so that was really super exciting. February 13th, I went to the Scandia PTO meeting. There was 12 people there, which was an exciting and good turnout. We have our Art and Academic Fair on March 22nd and our Carnival on May 17th. And I went to some wrestling events, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then I went to the Children's Performing Arts, the Finding Nemo Junior play. These are so cute if you ever have a chance to go to these. It was at the high school in the auditorium, and a lot of our elementary kids are actors in the play, and it was just really great. They do such a good job with their costumes, and it was really wonderful. And then there's a lot going on, with the state tournaments coming up, and a lot of our athletic teams are doing a lot of really great things. So I didn't want to just talk about wrestling and football, which is what I know about. I wanted to talk about all of our teams. So Nordic skiing, our girls team placed 11th at state, and the boys for Nordic skiing, Jonah Hebert qualified as an individual. In alpine skiing, we had Matthias Peterson all-state, and Maya Henslin and Sam Andreski qualified for state. Our jazz dance team qualified for state as a team, which was exciting. Jameson Livermore placed 15th in state. He's one of our divers. Gymnastics, the team placed 4th. And we had some individuals, Anna Phillipson, Sammy Ernst, Ellie Stamp, and Haley Henry qualified in some of their other areas. Wrestling, we qualified as a team, and we wrestled as a team down at the X on Thursday. I forget the date. We did lose both of our duels, but it was exciting nonetheless. Parker Leiden, a senior, Mark Rendell, a senior, they both placed 3rd. We had one of our girl wrestlers place 3rd, Nas White, she placed 3rd. Bella Carlson, Grant Marr, Jackson Marr, Hunter Gruba, they all qualified for state as an individual. And boys basketball is playing in the section tonight in Princeton, and if they win, they're going to state. And then we had Nora Hushagen, if I'm saying that right. She was the Gatorade Player of the Year for girls cross country. So lots of exciting athletic stuff going on. So yeah, I think that this concludes my report. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. Is there anyone else?
I did forget one thing.
Go
Do
ahead.
you mind if I chime in?
Yeah.
So the most important platform is ours, of course, and our transportation bills are being seen and heard. So if you want to go on the MSBA legislative dashboard, you can look them up. It's House File 3384 and Senate File 3626. So we're really hoping, and if you can send letters to our legislators, that would really help.
Yeah, good point. All right, reports, workshops and conferences. 916, Member Tyson.
Yes. So we met last week, and we had a presentation from Cora Secondary School Principal Christine Salava. We also had a literacy update to the READ Act and how that affects 916. We also had a presentation of the annual report, and then we approved the 2025 budget assumptions, and we approved the 24-25 school calendar. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Buildings and grounds, Member Hageland or Peterson.
So we discussed the phase 1 replacement of the steam system with new hot water system. They're replacing the 1999 vintage air handlers with coils. There's 7 of them, and going to hot water coils. And then there are 3 1972 vintage units that need to be replaced. They're also going to be removing and replacing some light fixtures for an estimated cost of $7.9 million. That's for phase 1, and that's going to be happening, I believe he said, at the fall or right after school this year. And
And then that work has to be done to get ready for the air conditioning units to go into the main gym next summer. So one more year of potentially hot graduation. And then phase 2 will be September, October, November. And again, that's the HVAC in the gym to get ready for the HVAC in the gym for next summer. And that was pretty much the majority of what we discussed.
All right, thank you. City of Forest Lake, Member Christensen.
Yes, I attended the meeting on February 12th, and they talked about some local street improvement projects, and the council discussed the city administrator search and how that process was going to go on. And then they also discussed their legislative and bonding priorities for the city. And then on February 26th, I attended the meeting virtually, and they talked again about the city administrator search and how that was going to move forward. And they talked and thanked Captain Greg Weiss. He is retiring after a long tenure as the captain, I believe, or chief. I'm sorry, captain. Thank you. And the new captain is Luke Hanegraaff. I believe he's a Forest Lake grad.
Yes.
Has 2 kids in the school, so great guy. So anyway, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Yeah. Communications Committee, Member Peterson.
Well, we had, it was kind of a short meeting, communications was this time. We had a discussion on the teacher communications and then some of the district social media communications.
All right, thank you. Community education was canceled. Curriculum Instruction Equity Committee, Member Rabline or Tyson?
Would you mind taking it, Member Tyson? I forgot my notes this evening.
Okay, well, I hope I can read mine. So yes, we had a really good presentation by the high school achievement specialist, which is Brad Vesco, and Haley Lane was there as well presenting with him. And they talked about how their data, they shared a lot of data about the program. They also talked about what it brings to our students if they do launch into summer success. They do lunch bunch and lunch and learn. So there's tutoring as well, drop-in tutoring and group studies that go on. So it sounds like they're seeing a lot of positivity in scores and test numbers, and it's a part of our strategic plan for students of color to have access to AP and CIS classes. So it was a wonderful report.
All right, thank you. In Finance Committee, we talked about the FY24 budget status and some adjustments we were making to that. And then looking ahead to the 25 budget development, we talked about what the factors that were going into that. Policy Committee, Member Rabline?
Yeah, the policy committee is actually really straightforward. Again, this month we have some first readings, and those are the things that we covered. So we will catch them in new business later tonight.
All right, thank you. Staff welfare, we discussed anti-bullying and how we want to address that going forward. Our anti-bullying policies, or not just policies, but the way we treat it in the district. Again, we talked about budget development for the upcoming year, and we talked about the structural balance, which we're going to be hearing about on and off as we go forward, trying to deal with student counts as the student counts go down. And superintendent reports, Dr. Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On April 4th, board meeting April 4th, administration will be bringing our staffing recommendations for the board, and along with budget adjustment and right-sizing recommendations for the board. Administration's been working on that plan for the last couple of months. We meet for 2 to 3, sometimes 4 hours each week on Tuesdays, putting those plans together. We analyze enrollment projections, consider retirements, folks who are moving on to other positions where we have openings, and then building our staffing model for next year with all those things in mind. So it's a lot of detailed work, and we're shaping that up as we head toward April 4th, and we'll be bringing that plan April 4th for
and asking for your approval of that plan. Along with that, we continue to look at enrollment for next year. We're taking kindergarten enrollment almost every single day. It's exciting to see the enrollment continue to grow there. Our elementary schools have had their elementary open house and kindergarten roundup concepts, and a lot of little prospective rangers out there with new t-shirts in the community as they begin their journey with us in Forest Lake. So some exciting things by way of enrollment, and we're taking enrollment for next year in other grades as well. So we're excited to see that, and hopefully we'll see that continue to stabilize our enrollment, if not ultimately maybe even grow enrollment over time. Last year, you'll recall, the board approved an increase of our substitute rate of pay from $130 to $150 per day. And we're seeing, with maybe a rebound of the labor market, along with increased pay for substitute teachers, more substitutes working in our district, and as a result, we're in a much better position covering staff absences. It doesn't mean we don't have uncovered teaching positions at the secondary level or at the elementary level, but not at anywhere near the rate that we did the last couple of years. So the work around increasing that rate and the impact of that has been very positive on the recruitment and the retention of subs in our system. Very positive development there. On April 2nd, we are going to be hosting a staff member from the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension and another individual from Washington County Human Trafficking and Sextortion, Sexual Exploitation Divisions. And they'll be holding a parent event and a community event, educational event for the community and for parents. We've also hosted both of those individuals for a professional development session with our school counselors, our health educators, and PE educators just this past Monday on March 11th. Just giving them the background and the information that they need to have as they work with kids who might be vulnerable to sexual exploitation. They've also worked with our administrative team. As you know and can imagine, it's a really critically important topic, and we need to make sure that we have the information we need and that we stand ready to support kids and educate and support families and parents as well. Member Christensen gave a lengthy, detailed report on our winter athletics. Thank you for that, Member Christensen. You took a page of my notes. So I won't go over that, but we look out our district office windows and we see softball and baseball and track, and our fall activities already underway given the winter that we've had. So we're underway with our spring activities, and it's just fun to see kids out there being active and doing what they love to do. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. All right, are there any items that people would like pulled from the consent agenda? If not, do we have a motion to approve 7.1 through 7.4?
Second?
Okay. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approved. Action items, donations.
And I've got the donation list here. We received a $5,000 donation from the Almalud Threshing Company for the Industrial Tech Ticket Booth project. We received a $1,043 donation from the Blue Line Club for the Forest Lake High School boys hockey coach. But bus to section finals. It says but to section finals, but bus to section finals. $500 donation from Olson Sewer Service for the 2024 Hall of Fame programs. $500 from Jesse Johnson Insurance for the Hall of Fame program. $500 from Wealth Management Midwest for the Hall of Fame program. We have another $500 donation from Johnson Turner Legal for the Hall of Fame program. We have a $330 donation from CAF America for Lino Lakes Elementary General Use. $300 donation from the Hugo American Legion Post 620 for the FFA Student Organization account. And we have an $8,673 on this side. this side, we have a $5,000 donation from Tefla for Ranger Space Camp. All these next series will be for Ranger Space Camp. We have a $2,500 donation from the Hallberg Family Foundation, $1,000 donation from the Forest Lake Lions Club, a $1,000 donation from the Players Foundation, $1,000 donation from Mr. and Mrs. Gene Schroeder, $500 donation from Mr. and Mrs. Jake Medford, $250 donation from Mr. Roy Whitehill, $250 donation from Mr. and Mrs. Kevin Daw, $200 donation from Mr. Theodore Elmquist, a $100 donation from Miss Linda Unterborn, a $100 donation from Miss Cynthia Barsness, $40 donation from Miss Rose Brado Hall, a $25 donation from Miss Megan Christensen, and a $25 donation from Miss Emily Cohen. And then we have a donation of goods from Mr. Adam Moser from Wood and Acrylic Custom Donation Box. And this side is $11,990 for a grand total of $20,663, and I so move we accept those donations.
Any discussion?
I would like to say always, I want to thank the very generous community. It's always amazing at how much money they donate to the various programs that keep all of the extra things around here going.
Yeah, I'm so fortunate, all the donations for the space camp.
Yeah.
Talked about going to their bake sale, and I think they're reaping the benefits of the community knowing what they're trying to do. So it's great to see, as well as all of them. The Hall of Fame that just continues to have that support year after year.
Yeah. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Donations are approved. 8.2, Forest Lake staff retirement notices. So we have Robert Behrens, industrial tech, carpentry teacher at the high school, 3 years of service. Donna Clark, administrative assistant and a router at transportation, 20 years of service. Connie Glowacki, speech language pathologist with 39 years of service. Jackie Lohlman, media specialist at Forest Lake, 6 years of service. Carrie Posinski, 5th grade teacher at Wyoming Elementary, 35 years of service. Kelly Schroeder, 6th grade at Wyoming, 22 years of service. And Krista Windish, SAC site manager at Forest Lake Elementary, 10 years of service. With that, do we have a motion to approve?
Second.
Further discussion?
It's 135 years worth of collective service.
I saw you writing it up. Just so much gratitude for all of our retirees and wish them well in their retirement.
Couldn't agree more. All right. With that, if there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the retirements are approved. All right, approved 2024-2025 school board meeting calendar correction. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You might be thinking that we've just done this. But the action that you took recently on this list of calendar dates had a very slight typo. If you look at May 29th, that was originally listed as May 30th. And in order to be accurate and have this recorded in the minutes, we'd ask your approval again on this list, accepting the change from May 30th to May 29th. That's the only change on the list of dates.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the calendar correction?
Move to approve, 8:30.
Second. Any further discussion? Go ahead.
I'm looking at my calendar now, and it says May 2024. The 30th is the Thursday. 2025, we're looking at next time. I stand corrected. Thank you, Joy.
Next week, correct.
I have no other comments.
All right, is there any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it's approved. 8.4, Juneteenth holiday.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last year, the board took action recognizing the Juneteenth, June 19th, as a recognized and paid holiday for 12-month employees. And that is all related to Minnesota statute that identified Juneteenth, which is June 19th, as a paid holiday for employees within our district and across the state. We need to bring this back to you tonight because as we worked our way through the year, there were a number of employment groups that we were able to get this included in collective bargaining agreements, but there are a number of groups that we are still working through where we do not have it in their bargaining group or their individual terms. So until we're able to get all the groups identified in the contract or their terms, we need board action to grant this as a paid holiday for the 12-month employees that are still affected by this. So administration would recommend your approval of that action.
All right, do you have a motion to approve 8-4?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion?
I just wanted to say thank you for being cognizant of those types of things, that they don't fall through the cracks, and that you yourself and your staff are combing through every day, making sure that everybody's covered and compliant with the state law.
Yeah, thank you for that. We do our best and we catch most, and I give the credit to Director Friedman for her catch of this, and she humbly accepts that recognition.
All right, if there's no further,
One question.
oh, go ahead.
Does administration anticipate that for 2025, now that we're moving into that year, that all the contract language will be satisfied?
I would say, please.
Not sure. Depends upon how much progress we've made on that round of bargaining by that point. So the support staff collective bargaining agreements are up this June. We're perpetually behind, as are most districts in the state. So for the renewals. So it's kind of a matter of, will we have a settlement by about this time? We often do. So I think so. If we don't, I don't know.
We'll be cutting it close maybe with a couple of groups.
Well, the reason I ask is this, Member Hagelin pointed out, administration has done a really good job of making sure that we remain compliant and that nothing's falling through the cracks. It would be a very simple amendment for us tonight to proactively approve that we do this in 2024 and 2025. And that would cover us either way, and it would eliminate the possibility that something did fall through the cracks in 2025.
Maybe with the notation until included in CBA or individual terms.
Yeah, if that seems reasonable, I'm happy to make a motion that we amend this to include calendar year 2025 if necessary.
I think that would be wise.
I disagree.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the amendment? All right, all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, so the amendment's approved. And any further discussion on the motion as amended? All right, Member Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Yes, Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Christensen votes aye. Member Corcoran is absent. Member Hagelin?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Evelyn?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
All right, approved. 8-5, School Board Member Reimbursement Policy, Guidelines Policy 103A.
It's the practice of the school district to reimburse school board members for expenses incurred in travel, where such travel is to represent the school district as a board member. Also included in this policy is the stipend for board members, and with the approved increased stipend that was passed in January, this policy now reflects that increase. Administration would recommend approval.
All right, do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Discussion? If there's no discussion, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Yes, Member Evelyn?
No.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Christensen votes aye. Member Corcoran is absent. Member Hagelin?
No.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it.
All right, 8.6, student transportation safety policy 531.
The purpose of this policy is to provide safe transportation for all students and to educate students, staff, and community members on safety issues and the responsibility of school bus ridership. The changes that are being recommended by the policy committee, that spent a lot of time on this policy, are really in large part related to updates in titles and updates in language to bring more clarity to the policy. So there are a number of those changes throughout the policy. There's also added language around the partnership that we have with families in educating their children around safe ridership as they're getting on the bus, off the bus. So some nice additions, but generally clarification throughout the policy. With that, administration would recommend your approval.
All right, do you have a motion to approve 8.6?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's approved. 8.7, technology acceptable use and safety policy 540.
The purpose of this policy is to set forth policies and guidelines for access to the school district computer systems and acceptable and safe use of the internet, including electronic communications. Again, the policy committee has spent a lot of time on this policy, as they do with all policies. And given the topic that I mentioned in my update related to exploitation of kids and the role that internet access plays for kids, it's really critically important that we pay attention to this policy. You'll see an addition on item 10 on page 3, which is language including related to cyberbullying. So that's a really important, I think, addition to this policy. There's also updated language here around districts' permission or ability to search a student's internet account if they're using district equipment. So administration recommends it.
All right, we have a motion to approve 8.7.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? There's no discussion. Oh, I would just say thank you to the policy committee for taking the time to look through these policies and examine them line by line and keep us up to date with this stuff. It's a fast-moving topic, and so I really do appreciate that work. And with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's approved. All right. 8.8, accept the 2022-2023 federal single audit. Member Renberg? Director Renberg.
Thank you. So we're here tonight. LMKR has finalized their work on our federal audit. This year we had 3 programs that they went through, which is the most that we've ever had, because normally you can only have 2, but with COVID funds, it's 3. And we don't even like to have 2, but it ends up that every 3rd year you have to audit the program, and both programs were set for audit. So it was the most we could ever have. So that went through this year. If you look at the memo, I just want to highlight just in the audit opinions and findings area that the schedule of expenditures was fairly stated. The district complied in all material respects with the types of the compliance requirements. There were no deficiencies in the district's internal controls over compliance that they considered to be a material weakness with any of the types of the compliance requirements. And then the other thing that I'll draw your attention to is the last page, which is a corrective action plan. We talked last year about the fact that we had a finding with our E-rate money that we had gotten with Chromebooks. And so you'll see that that has been resolved, and we have no findings this year in our audit. So, with that, the district administration would recommend approval of the federal audit.
All right, do we have any questions before we have a motion? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one comment, and that's one of congratulations.
Yes.
Compliance is no easy task, and to make it through an audit, especially an audit this inclusive, like you said, 3 programs, you hadn't done them before, you probably never will again. with no findings. That's a pretty remarkable task, and I think that a lot of people don't really recognize the scrutiny you go through when you go through an audit like this. To come out of it with no findings, no material weaknesses, that's impressive. So very nice job.
Thank you. Thank you to the staff. They did an amazing job in the finance and special ed and food service and everyone's, yes.
And for their humility. Any further questions?
I just want to say nice work. It's a difficult task to do these federal audits. And I was glad, was that just 1 year ago that we had the Chromebooks finding, correct? So that's already gone away?
Yep.
Excellent. I love that. Thank you for all your hard work.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve 8A. So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Do we need a roll call on this?
I would.
Yeah, all right. Member Clerk, please do a roll call.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Eberle?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Christensen votes aye. Member Corcoran is absent. Member Hagelin?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
All right. Audit's approved. 8-9, ratify the 2023-2025 Forest Lake Education Association Employment Agreement. Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I go through the specific changes, I won't go through all of them. I'll highlight the significant updates and changes to the agreement in just a moment. But I want to take a minute and recognize and thank Rich Elliott and his negotiation team. Maybe Director Friedman has the number in the top of her head of the number of times that we met. It was a lot. And the hours that we put, not just in direct meeting, but meetings separately as teams. Rich Elliott, the president of the Forest Lake Education Association fleet, they have a lot of hours into this in addition to teaching and all their other responsibilities. And I can say with a lot of pride that we were able to work through tough issues in a way that was respectful, professional, again, tough conversations, but we were able to do it in a way that I think strengthened respect and rapport. So I just would thank Flea for that attitude and that disposition and commitment to working through these issues. And with that, we were able to come to terms. We have a vote from the Flea group and organization supporting this and approving this agreement, and with your approval tonight, we will have a ratified contract. So let me just highlight a few changes. First, I would tell you that we are exactly on the parameter that you provided administration to negotiate with. So the financial package, and I'll highlight some of those pieces, is within and exactly on the parameter that you provided for us. There are a number of language items that get changed or shifted as we work through this process. The first one you'll see on page 7, and that's a recognition that the actual number of duty days for the teacher group moves from 187 to 186. We retain the same number of instructional days. We are converting professional development day to a non-work day for the members and for teachers in the education group. And we will work within the system to make up those professional development time and also meet the requirements of QComp and professional learning communities. On page 8, we have an update on section 3, where we added language that allows a teacher who is attending a meeting after school or before the start of school at the elementary level that exceeds 45 minutes. So a teacher who's involved in a meeting that goes 20 minutes or 30 minutes at the end of the day, that's within the contract time. A meeting that exceeds 45 minutes, they would be permitted to voucher for that time. I think that that's a very fair adjustment in my view. It also allows us to be consistent in how we treat extra time that teachers are putting in. there's been inconsistency of what gets paid or vouchered for and what doesn't, and this will allow us to be much more consistent. The next change I would highlight is on page 10, and that's language related to career and technical education staff and how they're able to accumulate credit hours for lane change. So we provided some clarification. The certification or the way in which CTE teachers get continuing education credit or advanced degree credits varies from a contact area teacher. So we want to account for that, and we've done that with this updated language. On page 13, you'll see an update in an increase in the district contribution in the second year of the contract, which would be 24-25 next school year, an increase from $845 to $945 for family medical insurance. So that's an increase there. You'll also see just above that in section 11, an indication for our Spanish Plus immersion teachers to be able to voucher for time that they spend updating and translating curriculum. So unlike a teacher who's not teaching Spanish, they have to oftentimes convert curriculum to Spanish for the educational instructional purpose. On page 16, you'll see updated language with respect to sick leave and how that plays for a teacher. And the reason for including that language is the statute related to earned sick and safe time does not provide for the up to 20 days of accrued sick leave to attend for the illness of a teacher, spouse, parent, or child. So that language goes away in the new statute. And we feel that it's important that we provide that coverage for a teacher who needs to tend to an illness of a spouse or child. We are also now including per statutory requirement language for preschool educators. So on page 13, you'll see the inclusion of, and page 34, increased language for the preschool educators. So we brought their terms of employment now into the collective bargaining agreement for fleet.
Hold on a second. Gotta get to 34. All right.
So Article 19. And then the related pay rates you see there in the table for 35 is consistent with the pay rate reflected in the overall teacher salary schedule and salary structure. And the last two final items, perhaps most significantly, are the adjustments to the salary schedule. Again, those are all within the parameters that were provided to us by the school board. And rather than going cell by cell and highlighting the changes in those cells, because the money gets allocated differently across the salary schedule as we work our way through that process. So let me just highlight in the first year the changes that are reflected in the salary schedule. So step B and C is increased by $1,000. Step C is increased by $875. Step E is increased by $900. Step F is increased by $975 for the year. Increase in step G is $700. $500 increase in step H. There's no monetary increase in steps I through M due to the large value of these steps already embedded into the collective bargaining agreement due to previous increases and increases that are focused on those areas over time. And then we are adding a new step N and an increase of 3% from the previous or the earlier step N. Then in 24-25, the second year of the agreement, we eliminate step D and C. And by doing that, we increase the starting and hiring wage, because step D becomes the new hiring step. And that step is an increase, it was increased by 3.75%. Steps E through J are increased by 3%. Step K and L increased by 1%. Step M increased by 2.75%. Step N is increased by 3.75%. You will also see in the second year an L.5 step. Essentially, we added another step there to split the difference between L and M, which is a really big step. So creating an intermediate step, and that step goes into effect for those on step I. So those that were on step K, we're anticipating that increase. We aren't going to take that anticipated increase, so we'll begin that step L.5 for those currently on step M. And then we also added a new longevity step at year 8. The purpose of that is to create a bump in that middle career phase for an educator as a retention opportunity. So the design there is to create a $1,100 step 8 at the step 8 level as an incentive for folks to stay with us and to continue working their way through the salary schedule and provide their valuable education to the kids in our district. So those are the significant changes that I would highlight for you. Also just know that Schedule C throughout the contract is based on that first cell on the salary schedule, and then it's allocated or percentage based on that step. So the steps, Schedule C is increased accordingly based on the increase on that first cell. So I would enthusiastically recommend approval of the CBA, and I'm grateful again for the collaboration. You can see the changes just on the salary schedule, the detail that has to get worked through as you come to terms and come to an agreement on an agreement like this. I think it was close to 11 or 11:30 at night one night that we're working through many of those numbers. So it's important work, but it's hard work at the same time. So,
All right.
Administration recommends.
Do we have a motion to approve 8-9?
So, second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I would like to thank our teachers and our teacher group and our teacher negotiators for your part and the relationship that we have with our employment groups. You can watch the news and see plenty of disasters going on all over the state, and I'm really proud of the manner with which we conduct negotiations, and that takes both sides. So I want to thank you all for your part in that, and we appreciate all the hard work that you guys provide for the district. So.
I just want to add that, we so value our teachers, and we know that they're so deserving of so much more, but unfortunately, we can't always afford that. So that's the reality for us, but we do just extremely value our teachers, and they're so hardworking and so dedicated. And I especially like the work in Section 3 for the additional activities, because I think teachers put in so much time already, and their days are long, and those, we can look at it as like a little incidental half hour for it. No, they're tired, that's extra work. And so I was so proud and happy to see that that got in there. And the work on the steps, I think we've been talking about some of that, and that is just intense work. So kudos for doing that and powering that out. So I'm so happy to have this done too. Very proud.
I'd like to add and echo everything that they just said there, and great job by everybody in administration. I'd like to thank the teachers for approving this. I mean, they could have pressed harder, and that would have meant harder decisions for us here at the board, especially. But I'm glad it didn't come to that. We do have more work to do, as Member Tyson mentioned. I'd especially like to thank both groups for the creativity they put in this contract. To give the public a little bit of context here, Our strike-through agreement that we were provided as a board was almost 60 pages long. And that's 60 pages of contract and legalese and numbers and data. So I can't imagine how many pages the actual divisions included, and just the work that went into this. And, again, as Member Tyson alluded to, I'm really excited to see the changes to the steps and the lanes and the retention. Some of the things that I've spoken about in the last couple of years have been that I'd like to give a little bit more attention to the lower tiered steps and really kind of move the needle there and keep some of our newer teachers in the district longer. And I think this language does that for us and really sets us up well for the future. So I'd like to thank administration, especially everybody who was directly involved in those discussions, and the union representatives as well. So thank you, everybody. And I think you did a really good job.
All right, any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, Member Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Yes, Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Eberle?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Christensen votes aye. Member Corcoran is absent. Member Hagelin?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
All right, great. All right, 8:10, award bid for new technology needs. Director Renberg.
Tonight, about a month ago, we brought you permission to bid our technology needs. So E-rate funds will pay 60% of the cost and we pay 40%. There's switches involved and also backup batteries for that. And so we did, as we said, we published the bid notices February 15th and 22nd. The bid opening took place on March 1st right here in this room. And of the 3 bids, we would like to bring forward the lowest bid of Tech Check for $222,620.86 for approval.
All right, do we have a motion to award the bid for technology needs?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a brief comment here. I'd like to thank the IT staff. This is not easy work to do. I've been through the schools. I've seen the technology that we write on, and a lot of it is pretty dated. We get every penny out of this, and technical. Like when I started looking at the specifics of what's involved here and working in the tech industry, this is pretty sophisticated equipment, and it takes some pretty impressive maintenance to keep it going as long as we have. And this is going to be a significant upgrade. I know the student body especially is going to be happy to hear that the reliability is going to become even better. So I think this is much needed. Yeah, with that, thanks for all the work that's gone into this.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Yes, Member Hagelin?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Eberle?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Christensen votes aye, and Member Corcoran is absent. The ayes have it.
All right, thank you. All right, new business. New business before 7 o'clock. 9-1, first reading of the Forest Lake Area Schools Day Treatment Program.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We are here. I'm Kelly Wilson, Director of Special Education, and I brought with me Jenny O'Connor, who is with Canvas Health. We presented to the Staff Welfare Committee a month or so ago regarding day treatment. And so for the first reading, we thought we would come together to give you the who, what, where, when, why, how come, as you consider and make some determination if this is a way we can move forward for the district. So we have done a analysis of some of our student needs, and in the district many years ago we had a day treatment. We partnered at that time. It was Canvas Health. What were you called then?
No, we were HSI then.
HSI. And so it was a successful program, and we have many students in our district who travel out around the Twin Cities for care and treatment needs. And so we're looking at who we can support in the district. So the students that we could support with our own day treatment program are 7 to 8 students at a time. That would be students, they would come into a program, have their mental health needs met, and then they would go back into our school setting. So it's not 7 students for the whole school year, but a rotation of students as students' needs are met, they would go back into our schools, and other students would then benefit from the program. So 7 at a time, but could be multiple students over the course of the school year. Our staffing, Jenny, do you want to talk about your Canvas staffing?
Yeah, so we would have a mental health therapist as well as a life skills counselor as part of our staff. And so the mental health therapist is a master's level, and then the life skills counselor is a BA level.
And then to support that program, they would also, the teacher, Forest Lake teacher and a paraprofessional would work collaboratively with that mental health therapist and life skills worker. Along with that, that is the staff that is directly working with the students on a day-to-day basis. And then administratively, there are 3 supervising staff from Canvas Health. The director of community ed, so Corey McKinnon, would be supporting the building pieces because our idea is the location would be at the education center. Director of business supporting the financial decisions. Director of special education as the liaison, so myself as the liaison supervising the different mental health programs that we have with Canvas Health. And then the community school principal, so principal that would service and supervise the students because it would be within the education center. I feel like we missed a slide. No? Okay. So the students that would need the support, this is a general education program, but students who do have disabilities, have an IEP, or special education could benefit from the program as well. Around the state, there are some that are only for special education. So this program is, we like to say our students, special education or general education first. This is a general education program, and if the student has an IEP, that is okay as well. So the philosophy and how this would work is the Canvas Health staff, along with education staff, would have 3 hours of therapy during the day, and then 3 hours of academics. And Jenny, do you want to describe that?
Yeah, so the therapy would be group therapy, recreational therapy, and social skills training, and that's really interweaved throughout the day. So typically they start with group therapy, and then they have an academic, and then they have another therapy and academic, and it just goes throughout the day, and all the staff are working together. So the therapist is leading the clinical movements, and the teacher is leading then the academic movements.
And then we would have this referral process, as this is a mental health day treatment program. So the referrals will go through Canvas Health because they have to meet a specific medical guideline to receive the mental health services. And then we as a school district are in agreement that we would provide their educational. So we don't make the determination educationally to say, here's who needs it. We may make the recommendation to say, we think a student may benefit from this. Canvas Health then does their intake process to say, yes, they meet the mental health need. So the cost of this program, we have, like I say, several students that leave the district that go to care and treatment programs. We don't know who they all are because families can unenroll the student and sometimes they don't tell us. We do know of the students who we transport. It's also required by state statute that we provide transportation to students who are going to a care and treatment facility. So when you see TCT vans and different vans around, they might be taking students out of district to other programs, which will allow us to keep our students right here in our community. So an example of the cost would be at their daily rate. And so this is just an example that Chrissy helped with, is what it costs per day to send our students out to care and treatment. So by not sending our students out, we will retain those dollars here and or not spend as much. If in the event we have open seats, we don't predict necessarily that that's going to happen because we know that we have more than 7 students that are out of district. But if we had open seats, we could also take students from other districts in, and then they would be paying our daily rate. And if that student had an IEP, we would also receive their funding for their tuition rate through special ed. So, and then transportation, while we get reimbursed for transportation, it's always a year late. And so that affects our low fund balance because it's not as necessarily as predictable. So the where. We have looked at our different locations, and we are hoping to have this at the Education Center for grades 9 through 12, with the potential of moving to and including 7th and 8th graders once we're up and running. We've agreed that we need to do it right and do it well to start with for our 9 through 12, but if we have a student that is 7th or 8th grade and there's the open spot, that would be an acceptable piece down the road. So eventually a 7-12 program, but up and running to start with a 9-12 program. So we have student needs that need mental health support. So it keeps our kids in our district. It decreases the amount of time our kids spend on the road and getting transported elsewhere. The ability to stay within our district, meeting our own graduation requirements and getting to graduate with their Forest Lake diploma. The budget is neutral, and so with the hiring of a teacher and a para, along with the collaboration with the funds that Canvas uses with their staff, because we get to retain those dollars, we're spending it right now with our students going to many locations. And then ultimately because it's good for kids. So right now our next steps, we're having monthly meetings, Canvas leadership. So we've been meeting monthly to try to start figuring the pieces out. Then eventually with the school board approval, we will move faster. But hiring staff, Forest Lake, we need to determine our staff. And then we've determined a space, and we will need to look at what we need to functionally be the furniture needs in the classroom because it's therapeutic as well as a classroom. And then we have a referral procedure, communication, and ongoing work. Thankfully, we have an expert right here, and Jenny and her staff who worked with 622 and have a very successful program that has started this small and has grown. So we can take their foundation and tweak it to be Forest Lake, because we're a little bit different, but they already have much of that work completed for us. So our hope and our expected start date is fall of 2024. I've actually had 2 phone calls already saying, when are we starting and could it be sooner? So the answer was no, but with that, questions you may have for myself or for Jenny around the Canvas Health pieces.
I have 2 questions. So could you talk a little bit about if there's one teacher, how will they teach, 9 through 12, the different subjects? And then also, so would then parents whose child goes out of district then, they would be anxious to come here, which would make sense, or are we talking about sort of new children or a combination of both, or?
Yes, so question number 1, they would, a teacher would be responsible for delivering and supporting the content in their various schedule, but they would be getting their information or their materials from the content experts. So similar to like the independent studies we do at the community school, they'd be getting that content, but then there would be one teacher that would be able to facilitate those academics or link them to the right teacher who needs that.
So it's not necessarily a teacher that will teach all the different subjects. The student will get their materials from their teacher of that subject, and then it's more of like a, not like a supervision, but kind of like a study hall type of thing like that, do you mean?
Yeah. And then the students, that will be determined. Because day treatment can have an influx of students coming in and out from a rapid time frame or a longer, we will need to just assess, do we have students that are out that we should bring here? They might already have what they're doing within their program, they don't want to leave. Like I say, I've already had 2 phone calls with word that this could be happening. So finding the 7 is not going to be a challenge.
And part of the benefit of having the program at the Education Center is we are running our community school program there already. We have a full complement of educators there covering many different subjects. So maybe not all that kids need, and we'll have other resources to do that, but it would be a great partnership with community school at the same time.
Two questions. First one is, how is the parent communication and approval of this? So whether it's a parent asking for their child to be in this, or whether it's the school recommending it, how does that parent or guardian approval and consent happen? Then I have a follow-up question.
So obviously there's some kind of struggle that is happening, whether it is in the school or at the home, that there would be a conversation with school staff. And then it would be, we have this program, and then it would be a referral to the intake for Canvas. And do you want to describe what you guys do?
Yeah, so at that point, I always tell parents that treatment is voluntary. You don't have to do it. You do have to consent for it. They can pull them out at any time. We would love to have a conversation about what's going on and how can we do better. However, then we do a diagnostic assessment, and they have to meet medical necessity, which Kelly was talking about before, which means they've got to have gone through like therapies before to then meet the need of losing 3 hours of education every day. It has to be a big deal. So.
My second question was, I saw that there was 3 hours of academic instruction. Is that enough time to get through all of their academics in a day and not fall behind or not miss out on something?
They will have some different credits, or they'll have their calendar or their schedule of the credits that they need following our high school requirements, as well as some of the elective credits can come from the therapy-based or the rec pieces, and students, their credits may vary. It depends on each student, so it's hard to answer, say yes or no. But the part is that they will be following the Forest Lake graduation requirements. They won't be getting a 5-period day like the high school, but that's where we'll have to look at what are their requirements, and then also what are their elective credits that can come from the therapeutic component.
So I think this is great. Anytime that we can support mental health needs of students, I think that's a giant leap forward. The part I'm struggling with a couple of parts here. First, you said there's a medical necessity piece. And in my mind, that automatically triggers, okay, is like the initial assessment or any parts of this passed back to like the student's medical plan? Does it go back to their insurance? And then maybe I'll even ask my follow-up question to that now, is I'm struggling to understand the financial neutrality of this. So can you speak to that a little bit more? Maybe it's something we got to take offline later, but maybe fill in a couple of those blank spots for me.
Yeah, so we bill insurance, so family knows that going in, and then so that may lead into the neutrality. You'd have to talk about that, but they have to meet medical necessity because we are billing the insurance company for that service.
Okay, so I guess that leads me to kind of the next question. If you're billing insurance, insurance is covering you. There's no cost to the district to have the 2 Canvas employees being present here. We just cover the teacher and the para. Then do we have a contract with Canvas where they're paying us or incentivizing us in some way to be part of the program? Or do we, or no offense to Canvas, of course, are there other therapy partners that we could have that maybe would pay us to be part of the program?
I would say the medical piece, and that's where it is a day, the medical component is through the insurance pieces. And then anytime there is a treatment facility within your district, you're obligated to provide that educational component. So then that's where we would be providing the educational component. And then as you look at the neutrality of the funding, is to be thinking about what our students' general fund is leaving at their daily rate, as well as transportation costs that come up a year later. And if they have an IEP, the tuition bills that we are also paying. So all of that stays here. And in the event that we have somebody else from another district come, that also comes to us. So we're paying for these students anyway, but these students are now going somewhere else versus keeping them here with our own teacher and our own staff. And so there is an agreement, a partnership working with Canvas around all of those pieces. And we have also talked with other agencies who have not done this as frequently as Canvas because they have other programs. And it would be a similar model and or have not cared to partake because it's hard to find mental health therapists.
Yeah, and I think it's great to be able to offer it locally and to have it in our schools. I think that's a great benefit. I know we worked with Canvas in the past, so I think that's a nice advantage as well. Just, like I said, I'm kind of struggling to wrap my head around all of that when we're all together.
The other thing is we have right now through the TAP program, which is we have 5 Canvas Health therapists throughout our district as well. So we have that partnership of our students because of the different criteria that they need to meet medically. So that partnership with Canvas has been strong for a long time.
Is that, I imagine this is a separate contract we have. Will that come to the board later? That's all I have for questions. Thank you.
This might be obvious, but a student who stays in our district and enrolls in this program, we're collecting per pupil funding for that student. And then any student who leaves, we lose per pupil funding, have the added cost of transportation, special education service. So it's not a direct one-for-one in terms of cost, but the cost that we save by having kids stay in our program versus leaving, as well as the collection of per pupil funding, creates that model of cost control. The goal is not to make money on the program, but at the end of the day, we do lose significantly from a revenue standpoint. Kids who go elsewhere, you can see the cost for kids who go to other programs, and that's a direct cost to the district when we're paying that rate when kids go to those programs.
Yeah, one of the, to kind of expand upon the question that I had about the contract, and that one thing that really immediately comes to mind is reputation and liability, and that goes in both directions, where the reputation of providing a program can be extremely beneficial and help us as a district, but at the same time, something goes wrong and we go in the exact opposite direction. So those would be some of the other concerns I have, but I do think it's a great advantage for the offer in district. So I realize it probably sounds like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but I'm trying to look at the risk involved with it as well.
So I'm glad you brought up that partnership, Kelly, that we've had with Campus Health, because that goes way back. And you guys have just been so valuable to have in our buildings. We know that there is a mental health crisis and things that are really affecting our students. So to Member Hagelin's question, would you think that a student in having mental health crisis or issue, are they able to learn? I think what you are telling us with the 1 hour on, 1 hour of therapy, 1 hour, that's probably getting them to a point where they can do academics and do their work. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I think the idea is that, like, right now we have TLC that Forest Lake sends. I think we have 1 student now. We usually have 2 or 3 Forest Lake students coming to Oakdale, which is 45 minutes of their school day. Sometimes if we've got good weather or bad weather, it's further of them just getting to us. But the benefit of them getting their education here as well is that the therapist is there to help the student regulate, right? So to see them in their stressful moment, to help them regulate, and also to teach the team how to do it as well, right? And then the teacher comes in and this is how they learn. This might be getting in the way, right? And so they're working together through this whole time.
And so it's a win-win as far as their academics and their mental health. And so what I really value about this program is that they can transition back into their regular school setting easily. They're already in-house, they're under our care, or your care and management, and they can transition back, because I see that kids get stuck and that transition doesn't take place. And then, needless to say, crisscrossing all over on these vans for 45 minutes. My friend's son is on for 1 hour and 15, and then transitioning in to do your academics and your therapy. It's got to end. And so I'm so proud of this model coming to light, and that we can move forward for this to benefit our students. So.
Gail, I think that is a great point as well, because so we have students down in Oakdale, and when they're ready to transition back, they're here with part of their therapy and their support in Oakdale, where when our students are ready to, say they transition from and go back over to the high school, it can be on a slower, like 1 period or 2 period, but then we also have people who know them and can help with that transition because they're across town versus 45 minutes, hour and 15 minutes away, or who don't even know our district. So we have students who are discharged from treatment daily that come back with a report and say, I'm done, and can I enroll back in full-time? And we don't know what their treatment plan was or anything, and we hope it goes well, but that transition is a very positive, that it would be either to the community school or over here to the high school with the support.
That's such an important piece, so.
I just had a question, I think you might have just answered, but before you said something about another district that you've worked with, is it Oakdale then? And how long have you been doing that, and what has the experience been?
So this is our third school year, and then we are moving buildings next year to expand, so to double. That wait list is always about 6 or 7 kids, and we don't even advertise that program because to the rest of the district, because it would just be mean to say, we have this great program and your student's gonna sit on it forever. So I have no doubt that this will fill up in a heartbeat. And it's gone well. You know, like any program, we've had to figure things out, and we've done it, and the teams come together. We have an amazing teacher who actually was an elementary special ed teacher, but stepped right in and is teaching beautifully, and her and the therapist are creating quite the program over there.
Sounds great, thank you.
Yeah, and I'd say for my part, to me, this is a godsend to hear that we're gonna do this. Because for a parent who's struggling with a child who's got mental health issues that are serious, it is so hard to find a good integration between their education, the school, and their mental health treatment, because all the help that they need is oftentimes far away, right? And like you say, that's eating up big parts of the day. The transition out of it is hard coming back to school because it's a big bump. This is just a godsend for parents and kids that are struggling with this, because it's hometown based, right? And you know, I'm glad it's cost neutral, but if it wasn't, I'd still be for it because it's a critical need for parents, right? And not only that one thing that's really hard for parents that are struggling with this is that we're used to our schools. They're local. We know them, we've seen them, we're around them. Once, you know, a child starts having suicidal ideation or other problems, and all of a sudden those things start ramping up, you don't know where to go, right? You're not familiar with these places that are all over town that your child is being driven to, and they're going behind a door. You're not familiar with that, right? You're familiar with your hometown schools. And so I'm just 100% behind this. I think it's going to be great, and I think we're going to find that it really is going to help kids that are really struggling and parents that are struggling to figure out how to get those kids back on track. It's gonna just be a much easier all around. So thank you for this.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to say thank you for all the work that you've done to get us to this point. I remember talking about this months and months and months ago, and I know that then, you know, an idea came forward, and you guys have definitely run putting together the outline, and I'm excited to see it. I remember Raphael said it great, so did member Tyson. I mean, the needs, the mental health needs in our district, in our community, in our state are overwhelming. You see it every day. You see the outcome of the failure to meet mental health needs on the news on a regular basis. And for us to be able to intervene and prevent some of those outcomes ahead of time is great. And I'm just excited that we'll be able to support all of our rangers and not have to send them somewhere else.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
9.2, first reading of the public and private personnel data policy 406.
The upcoming policies on the agenda are all first readings, so no action required tonight. The purpose of this policy is to provide guidance to school district employees as to the data the school district collects and maintains regarding its employees, volunteers, independent contractors, and personnel. The policy committee has spent time on this policy, They are not recommending any changes at this time.
All right. 9.3, first reading of the use of student records policy 505.
The purpose of this policy is to provide protection of and privacy of student records. On page 1, you'll see some updates to directory information. On page 3, you'll see updates with respect to legitimate educational interest and access to private student data. And those are the recommended changes by the policy.
All right. 9.4, first reading of the crisis management policy 538.
The purpose of this policy is to recognize the district's responsibility to provide a safe and secure environment for students, staff, parents, volunteers, community members, and visitors, and to ensure the district's preparedness to coordinate protective actions prior to, during, and after any type of emergency or potential crisis situation to the district. A minor change being recommended by the policy committee you'll find on the first page of the policy, and it's with respect to how the plans will be provided to individuals who need to know.
All right. And 9.5, first reading of the bullying prohibition policy 541.
The purpose of this policy is to assist the school district in its goal of preventing and responding to acts of bullying, intimidation, violence, reprisal, retaliation, and other similar disruptive and detrimental behavior. I'd like to just highlight the note that's included in this policy that states that in the 2023 legislative session, they enacted requirements that require school districts to adopt policy terms prohibiting malicious and sadistic conduct on the basis of protected classification. MSBA has incorporated those terms into the MSBA model policy, and those are the recommendations that we are incorporating in this policy. And because of the applicability of the malicious and sadistic conduct terms to staff members as well as students, Forsyth Area Schools has chosen to incorporate those recommended changes in the policy. So you'll see those recommended updates to this policy. Please take a look at those between now and next month when we ask for your approval.
All right. So take a look at the upcoming calendar dates. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Any discussion?
I see graduation on there.
What's that?
Graduation's on there.
You're wrong.
So soon.
What?
All right. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?